The Supreme Court heard day 2 of arguments supporting same-sex marriage, and today the focus was DOMA, a law that denies federal benefits to legally married same-sex couples. We're joined now by national gay rights activists Sala and Jennifer Thieme from the Ruth Institute, a project of the National Organization for Marriage, to help. Both of them are going to help break down this issue. And I'm sure it's going to get heated. How can it not when we're from both opposing sides? So, Sean, I have to tell you, we always do women first here.
Oh, that's
I know. I'm sorry it sounds
fine.
sexist, but we do.
Oh, no.
Okay. Why don't you tell us how you feel about this whole situation?
What a lot of people, what we would like a lot of people to understand and to start talking about is what is marriage and what role does marriage play in our society, and why did marriage even arise to begin with? That's a question that really hasn't been strongly debated in the public square. The issue's often been sidetracked into federal benefits and tax breaks and things like that, but I would like to see the conversation come back to what is marriage.
Well, let me ask you this. Does it bother you if same-sex couples get those federal breaks and tax
Let me tell you
cuts?
what bothers me about the issue. What bothers me about the issue is that it's really like a quid pro quo transaction. It's not just a matter of simply allowing a new subset of the population to begin marrying. A whole set of changes have to occur to the family structure in order to make that happen. And you'll see a lot of people on my side holding signs that say, kids need a mom and a dad. Well, what that's really saying is, if we allow same-gendered couples to marry, we have to completely remove the presumption that every child is entitled to a mother and a father. So do you see, it's a trade. It's a trade-off that's going on, and that's what my side is objecting to, is this trade.
I have a problem with that theory because I'm a single mom, and there are lots of single moms raising children on their own, whatever, and single fathers as well.
I agree.
So there is that gray area. Sean, what do you have to say in response to it?
Well, my issue is that I would feel like the argument was more cognitive to make sense if the national organization wasn't so defamating of gay people. I mean, they've attacked single moms before. They've said that the problem with single parent homes and single moms is that they acquire so many boyfriends. They've said that being gay, they said,
I wish I had time for a boyfriend.
They said being gay is a pathway to pedophilia. They've said that gay relationships is equivalent to incest. So it's like, are we really talking about marriage? And they want to say that gays want to recreate the social structure of families. But I think in reality, there's a huge agenda in the National Organization for Marriage that is based solely off of the defamation of gay people. So on that point, this is not anything new. This is not adding on, special rights. I have a friend of mine that's here with me, Dr. Lori Henzik. She is a military partner, and if her military partner dies overseas because of the Defense of Marriage Act, she will not know if her military partner is notified. And that is, we want to talk about biblical marriage, Christianity. I'm pretty sure Jesus said, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Well, on that note, that's the one thing that gets me. If we're talking about marriage in the religious sense, that's one thing. If we're talking about marriage in the civil sense and government, I mean, there should be a separation of state and religion. But even on, there has been gays forever, right? And when we go back to the Old Testament, if we're talking religion, we had men marry, it was polygamy, right? So what is this idea of marriage? It confuses me. And ideally, when I was little, did I want to live in a conventional home with a father there raising my children? Yeah. But that didn't happen. So what? Now what? Am I going to be villainized because I'm raising kids by myself? But that's kind of what it's saying. So I want to hear what you're saying.
Exceptions can be made. You have to start off with a foundation. That's our position. You should have a foundational structure. And of course, exceptions can be made. Exceptions are made, absolutely. We have adoption. We have single moms raising children who, many of them are doing a great job.
And we allow gays to adopt too.
But the reality is that children fare best with their own biological married parents. I mean, that is really the gold standard for children. And in order to allow gays to marry, the whole legal structure has to be changed to remove that as a presumption. All gender references are removed out of the law. So bride and groom is stricken from the law, mom and dad is stricken from the law, the presumption of paternity becomes the presumption of parentage, so dads are stricken from the law. It's really some significant changes that have to be made in order to make this accommodation. It's a trade. It's a definite trade-off, and my side is saying, we don't think it's a fair trade.
And some would say to evolve is to change, and there's like different things. What do you have to say? Because I understand what you're
And
saying.
I'd like the
do.
record to show that Mr. Salas was the first one to discuss religion.
I know, but I would have
Well,
brought it up
I've studied
anyway.
the National Organization for Marriage, and I know who's on their board, and I know who's on, it's a very Catholic influenced
And you
organization.
were raised very religiously, weren't you?
I was.
If I remember correctly.
And they also endorse gay reparative therapy that I went through that doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, what were you going to ask me?
I forget.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
But we were just talking about how we would have to change the laws and how it get very complicated. Another thing, the one thing I wanted to add earlier is throughout the Bible and most religious books, the underlying theme is thou shalt not judge. Thou shalt not judge. Who are we to judge anybody's
Okay,
relationship?
I'd be happy to talk about
Well,
the Bible.
But let's go back. It was
Yeah.
his turn, and then we'll go back to
all
that.
right.
And if you are going to get on the subject of biblical marriage, because that's where it comes from, that they feel like that it is their job and their ability to define for society what a family is. But there's 40,000 kids in California that are adopted by gay parents that do not receive equal benefits under the law. And so it's very easy to sit in a position and judge somebody else and to say that is not a family. However, are you going to adopt
People
those
on my side are
40,000
not
kids?
saying
Are you
that's
going to
not a
put those
family.
40,000
That's not a
kids?
fair
Are you going to put those
characterization.
40,000 kids back into the adoption agency?
That's not a fair characterization to say that my side is saying they're not a family. I'm sorry, I do not agree with that.
Okay, but do you feel like they should still get the advantages to being a family?
Okay, let's look at
tax relief.
If we remove the presumption that every child is entitled to a mom and a dad, we have to sweep that away and say that that is no longer the presumption. We need to look at how that's going to affect in 5 years, 10 years, 15
take us down that
years.
road. Take us down that road.
Right, that's actually that dismantles the natural family. When you get rid of mom and dad out of the legal code, like Minnesota is proposing to do now, you can look this up. Minnesota is proposing to actually remove the words mom and dad out of the legal code in order to make this accommodation.
Because
families are not going to fall apart tomorrow if
they're not falling apart now.
Actually,
they're
they are.
adopted.
The
No.
structure of the family is much weaker now than it has ever been.
Well, like I said, are you going to adopt those 40,000 kids? I know plenty of kids that have gay parents that are in loving, good families.
Yeah.
But the difference is they're not equal under the law.
And the loving good family is, to me, the theme. If you are being raised with a father and mother, and it is not a loving good family,
Of
you're
course-
better off with a gay
of course,
couple who
there
loves you
are
and
always
is a good family.
exceptions. There are
Yeah,
always
there is.
exceptions.
That's the
Absolutely. But the social science
Yeah.
indicates that the gold standard is a child to be with their own married biological parent. That is the gold standard.
we're just
Is there
getting-
a silver standard and a bronze? Absolutely.
We're
there
going
are.
to we're going to come back to that. We got to take a quick break, and then we'll be back because we're just getting heated up. And we're back talking about the same-sex marriage debate. We're going to go to Sean now to talk about what you think. I mean, some people say if the government allows same-sex marriage to be legal, how are they going to stop the radicals? I mean, grown-up sons wanting to marry their mothers, and that's extreme. I know I'm being ridiculous, but
Well, that's a
where
good
do we
word.
stop? How do we stop that from happening?
Well, the Ruth Institute that Jennifer is with, they've had a guy at one of their conferences named Robert Gagnon that said that gays are more of a threat to this country than war. And I'm an Iraq
What?
War veteran, and that's very offensive. And they said, once again, that being gay is on par with pedophilia and that same-sex marriage can be defined as an incest relationship. So, once again, I think that we've heard these tired arguments. The family structure is going to die, et cetera, et cetera. The military, you remember that one?
Yeah.
The military is going to fall apart, and there's been no incident. They've said that documented studies say,
You mean that wasn't a result of the budget cuts? I'm kidding.
No, exactly. They say that documented, there's these documented studies, and a lot of these studies are very integral faith-based studies. There are also studies that came out that said same-sex parents are great parents. So it's just continual demonization of gay people. And, I think the nation is starting to get, because you're seeing the tide turn, that this is just a bunch of malarkey and social defamation.
And there's always going to be cases to prove otherwise on both your sides, right?
But what about answering your question? I didn't.
How
hear
do
an
we
answer.
stop extremes? Because once you legalize one situation, it opens doors for others.
Well, I would say, when they said women should vote, they said the next extreme is that women are going to want to do this, they're going to do that. There's always that argument, and I think it's good to just really stick to the issues, because I believe both of you should have the right to vote. Years ago, you would just sit in the kitchen all day, and they said if we extend this to women, it's going to empower them, and they're going to become crazy. It's ridiculous. These families are suffering. Gay people are suffering. And in this country, we have the same argument over and over. Should we give them rights? Should we give them rights?
Gay people are suffering, really? Because
Yes.
I just read in HuffPo and CNN that there was a report that came out in December that said that they earn above average incomes than everybody else. Did you see that?
I'm not an above average income.
Well,
I'm a
as
student.
a whole, they earn above average income, so that doesn't suggest to me a tremendous amount of suffering.
And then you just open the door. Well, that means that they can provide a home for family
Yeah.
with more money. So
But that doesn't mean we should change the structure.
Okay, so I
it's
guess
a structural
and what I
change
need you
that
to
we're
really
talking
tell me
about.
and the viewers is why is that so important, the structure, when to me, and Mama, a lot of people are going to be mad at me for saying this, but every child deserves to be loved and nurtured and being protected. That to me is the number one goal, and everything else after
They
that
do deserve that, but they also want a mom and a dad. Kids also.
So they don't turn out gay because you guys say the same thing too.
I haven't really talked about gay people, Mr. Solis.
You should look into what your organization teaches.
Yeah, but you can't
I'd
say
like to
one
just talk
person-
about marriage and children. That's
And
what I want to talk about.
and both of you, if one person says something, you can't blanket all of the society from having this belief systems, even though there's radicals in both sides,
I do,
right?
but she represents the Ruth Institute, and I'm addressing what they project out in their conferences, the media. They're just a little cockeyed when it just comes to the facts.
Well, I mean, is there going to be a happy medium for both sides? Is there a resolution for both sides that both sides will be happy? I don't know. I don't know if it's possible.
I don't think it's going to be possible. It's going to be either or, because, like I said, the whole family structure has to change in order to accommodate gay couples.
Well, something's going to change because everybody's upset, but we got to take a break. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back.